Greetings, listeners. Welcome to Consulting Between Friends. I am your host, Michael Holmes Jr. Everyone will need some assistance in their life, but might not be sure how to find it. For example, house repairs, car repairs, and financial services. In life, we all faced with ups and downs, which causes us to become more resilient. Being resilient can help us get further in life. Some groups and organizations can assist individuals with different issues. And in most cities, some groups and organizations focus on assisting individuals' needs. Most of these groups are run by staff and volunteers who are kind hearted people. It takes a certain personality to interact with different people. The person has to be understanding about different situations the other individuals is dealing with. One type of organization I am going to talk about is a nonprofit. The basic definition of a nonprofit is a tax exempt organization from the government because they want to provide public services to help other individuals. Since a nonprofit is tax exempt, the organization has to raise or have grant funding to survive. In this episode, I will interview a person who is an executive director of a nonprofit organization called Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge. The person's name is Christopher M. Lewis. He will discuss what the services the nonprofit offers to the community and what an executive director does for a nonprofit organization. The topic is Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge, nonprofit organization. We will return after a message from our sponsor. Everyone is always planning things, and advertising is needed to make it happen. So, if it's personal or business, let Pinpoint Designs and Images solve that problem. With Pinpoint Designs and Images LLC, you will receive quality work and professional service at a great price. The service that is offered: flyers, business cards, programs, invitations, photo books, ad booklets, and much more. Michael Holmes Jr., owner/principal designer of Pinpoint Designs and Images LLC, contact me by email or social media. Email address is pinpointdesignsandImages@gmail.com, and Instagram Pinpoint Designs, and Facebook Pinpoint Designs and Images. We are back. Before the interview begins, I want to give you some background on Christopher M. Lewis. Christopher was born and raised in Natchitoches, Louisiana, to Renee and Kevin Lewis. He is married and has one son. Christopher started his academic journey at Dillard University. He studied political science and graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in 2014. During his time at Dillard, Christopher showed off his intellectual prowess by securing second place in the 2014 Dillard University undergraduate research competition. Christopher was the president of Theta Sigma chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity and Company. and played a pivotal role in leading Dillard's African Word Network organization. His commitment to community stretches far beyond academic level. He has shadowed the NOPD and volunteered at the Winter Circle Music Production, the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation, and the New Orleans Neighborhood Partnership Network. These experience has equipped him with a deep understanding of community dynamics and the importance of public policy analysis. In the wake of Hurricane Harvey, Christopher took on the role disaster case management at Baker Ripley. He played a critical role in assessing the client's needs, providing assistance and aid to disaster recovery. Now, Christopher's current occupation is the new executive director of a nonprofit called Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge. My guest is Christopher Lewis Sr. Now, welcome to Consulting Between Friends podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. How are you doing today?
All is well. Had a pretty good day at the office. We were able to get homeowner agreement document live and transparent, real time on our system, as well as got $12,000 in gift cards from Home Depot. So another day able to help out some more individuals in the community.
Oh, that sounds really good. I like what you just said about how your day was and what you did at your job. Since you did say that, can you explain your background?
For sure. I'm the executive director at Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge. It's a local chapter of a nationwide nonprofit that specializes in providing critical home repair free of charge for the impoverished elderly, uh, disabled, and veteran homeowners.
Okay, that sounds good. Do you mind explaining where you're from?
Oh, best city ever, Natchitoches, Louisiana. There would be no Louisiana Purchase if it wasn't for the settlement in 1714. Went to high school there and then went to college at Dillard University in New Orleans, and I've been serving my community ever since.
Oh, that's nice to hear. And I do like how you know your history also about Natchitoches, because also I was raised there, and that's how I got to meet you in the first place through your family.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, I'm be looking forward to this interview, and we're about to start right now.
Let's get to it.
What are some of the services Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge offer the community?
So again, we provide critical home repairs. Our process starts with a 25-point safe and healthy home inspection where our construction team goes in and assesses the houses. Usually, applicants will request specific repairs such as a roof, maybe fire safety, grab bars, minor plumbing and electric. But our 25-point safety inspection really allows us to go in and assess the home as a whole, and then maybe even highlight some issues in the home that the homeowner isn't aware of. Then we'll go back and complete the repairs again free of charge, depending on the scope of our funding and programming at the time. Wheelchair ramps are our bread and butter. Every home that we serve receives fire safety, meaning fire extinguisher, smoke alarm, carbon monoxide detector, and then those grab bars. We also have a great partnership with Premier South and are able to provide new roofs for homeowners to keep them safe and dry in their homes. One of our newest initiatives has been a visit from our community care coordinator. We noticed that some of our homeowners, even though we would complete some critical home repairs, we're still missing some resources to make them whole. So now our community care coordinator will go in and make applicable referrals to legal assistance programs, utility assistance, nutrition assistance, council on aging programs, really just trying to help our elderly homeowners stay as connected to the community as possible, as well as giving them those resources they need to live a long and healthy life.
Oh, that's really interesting. I like what y'all do for the community. And so it seems like y'all mostly focus on the elderly. Is that correct? Or y'all focus on overall the community in general?
The elderly impoverished homeowners. So those homeowners who have made a significant investment in their life and in their family in purchasing this home, and we want them to be able to stay in that home as long as possible, as well as be able to transfer that asset down to their family.
Hmm. Well, I know that the people y'all work with appreciate y'all's services. And also, since you did mention some of the stuff that you do like that, did some of this stuff sometimes go in effect a little bit when it's hurricane season, like when people are repairing their homes?
Yes, sir. We find, the amount of repairs needed in the community always goes up during hurricane season and after those larger storms, as well as the availability of funding to assist in those repairs. So we definitely are responding in the wake of hurricanes. But again, the need for critical home repair is there all year, regardless of the weather. So we're steadfast in the community and our ability to really be able to consistently provide those repairs.
Hmm, that's interesting.
What made you get involved with the nonprofit work?
Um, so public services has been my passion since undergrad. I learned actually it's probably before then. As you know, my dad, retired Army Ranger, now cop, well now
Hmm.
retired cop, and then my mom, a nurse. Public service has always just been a theme of my life. Even with my all four of my grandparents being educators, I just saw the power in giving back to the community, as a form of employment. So after graduating college, I made it my mission to make sure that I found a job where I can give back to my community. I've lived a blessed life with two amazing parents, four amazing grandparents, and I just want to take what I've learned and be able to leave the world a better place. I did that initially through community organizing, and then I in California, and then I applied for Teach for America. It was an opportunity to move back home, so I spent a couple of years teaching in Donaldsonville, and I had my son, and I was realizing that the teacher's salary was being spread a little bit thin between my wife and now daycare, other associated costs. So I was looking for other opportunities for employment, and I found the nonprofit. Well, the nonprofit world found me, and again, it's just a blessing to be able to work every day helping others in the community as well as taking care of my family.
Hmm. I like the story how you just explained that. And nonprofit work is really good because you do learn a lot about things that you might have didn't even think about in the first place. And then also people appreciate the services that nonprofits offer that some people might don't even know about.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Since you are now the executive director of Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge, what are some things you want to focus on?
Since I've became the executive director, I've been really focusing on improving the efficiency of our processes. My predecessor did a great job of instituting some processes to help us be more sustainable in the future, such as a grant management pipeline. But now I'm just trying to make sure that we're helping people to the best of our capabilities, whether it be tracking the data, whether it be implementing processes to help streamline our delivery of services, and even expanding our reach, such as serving areas outside of Greater Baton Rouge, as well as those additional services through our community care coordinator, just really trying to help more people more.
Hmm, that's really good. Well, since you say focus on outside of Baton Rouge, does this organization also connects to other nearby cities?
So we have a Rebuilding Together affiliate in New Orleans, and then a Rebuilding Together Acadiana that's based out of Lafayette. Rebuilding Together New Orleans actually branched out and created Rebuilding Together on the Bayou, which serves the Terrebonne Parish. So South
Mhm.
Louisiana is well represented. It is in my aspirations personally to be able to bring this program to Natchitoches, our hometown.
Hmm.
So I'm looking to do that here in the next couple of years.
Well, that sounds really good. That will be really needed in the community because I remember living there, and some people need those services. And there is some poverty areas in the area that some people might don't know, but sometimes in a small town, those things get kind of overlooked versus a big city. Correct?
Definitely, definitely. The resources to help, are usually focused in more urban areas, and the rural areas are, as you said, overlooked. So definitely want to shine a light on the inequities that I saw growing up in our hometown.
Hmm. Another thing, since you did mention about rebuilding together Baton Rouge, is this connected to like a nationwide organization, or is this just only in Louisiana?
Yes, sir. It is a nationwide organization. There's over 130 affiliates nationwide, everywhere from New York to Silicon Valley. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Rebuilding Together nationwide is their willingness to collaborate and help other chapters or affiliates grow, as well as the amount of resources that come down from home office. Everything from branding to marketing to best practices, there's a template that you can find to really help you in whatever facet of or capacity of business you're looking to grow or develop in.
Hmm, I like that. Well, since you did say that, what are some of the services that Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge or the organization in general offer the community who actually might need the services?
Yes, sir. So, Rebuild Together Baton Rouge, we provide critical home repairs free of charge for our impoverished elderly homeowners, disabled homeowners, and veterans as well. And those repairs range anything from minor electric or plumbing issues. So, maybe installing a light switch, replacing a lighting fixture, um, unclogging a sink or repairing sinks, and installation of tubs, showers. We do some subfloor repair. Really, we have a 5-person in-house construction team. So really, any repairs that we can take care of in-house rather than subcontract out, we like to take care of. Again, wheelchair ramps are our bread and butter, and we also have a really strong roof program. But we're looking to expand the services provided every day.
Hmm. So, I like how you just said the different services that y'all offer. Now, since you did mention at least like 5 people, so when you have like a project going on, a particular house, basically, about how many people it takes to start the process and keep it going?
Well, it only takes one person to start the process, and that's the homeowner who's putting in the application. And then
Mhm.
once that application is in motion, once it's approved, we will schedule an inspection, go out and do that inspection. And depending on the size of the job, depends on how many workers we have at the home while the work is in progress. If it's a larger project, such as a wheelchair ramp or maybe a big subfloor repair or cabinet installs, we rely on our skilled volunteers. We have a group of retired individuals called the Silver Hammers who volunteers weekly on Mondays, and they can build a wheelchair ramp in a day. As well as
Hmm.
we partner with individuals or organizations like GAF, Exxon, and they help provide us with skilled laborers so that we can complete those bigger projects that we may not usually be able to complete by ourselves.
Well, that's understandable. It's good that y'all have sub areas that y'all can focus on that other companies you can bring in to help out what y'all believe in.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the challenges that you face while working with the nonprofit in the community?
Only challenge I say is funding. You know, we don't have a set budget that comes from the government, so we rely on support from foundations, corporations, and individual donations. And asking people for money is always hard or a little bit awkward. I'm getting better at it. Working on better asks, more formal asks, more regular asks, so that the individuals who are donating or supporting expect it. But I think with the nature of this work, it's appreciated and it's known that it's needed. So that provides a willingness to give.
Yes, that's understandable. Yes, asking for funds is kind of really tough, but in these cases, that's what nonprofit groups have to really do, have to rely on different organizations and companies to support them. It is sad that the government cannot actually pay for stuff like this, but I guess that's how it is. Okay, well, I know you're now the executive director. Before you came to executive director, I know you was involved in um, Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge. So, what type of stuff you were doing before you got this position?
Um, Before I was promoted to executive director, I was the program manager. So I was essentially managing the data and the programs that we're running, helping with the overall efficiency, helping to digitize certain processes, take them off of paper, and just help us to run the business a lot more effectively. Transparently, when my predecessor hired me, he told me that he was hiring me as his replacement. So it's truly a blessing to for it to all come full circle and to me now be leading the organization. We serve pride. We serve in a predominantly Black or African American neighborhoods. So I really think that it's a blessing for me to be able to, look like the individuals that we're serving, and I know that they always really appreciate that. And again, it's just a blessing.
Yes, it is a blessing. And when I actually heard that you got this position, I was actually excited for you because I know your background, I know your family background. So I knew when you got it, I'm like, okay, he's going to do really good at this because he has a good shoulder on him, and he comes from a good group of people who can actually guide him constantly through this whole process. And this type of work, you have to actually want to do this type stuff because nonprofit work is not really hard. I mean, it's not really easy to do, like some people might think you can do. Really, you have to actually believe in it. You have to just, it's not like your regular everyday job. It's
For
really
sure,
different.
for sure. And then I think adding to that, the impoverished elderly, that's a very it can also be a very traumatizing portion of the community to serve because you have individuals whose children have left them for years and years and years, and they're just, by themselves living, and their living conditions may not always be the best. And, for them to not have an outlet or support for so long, some of their conditions can really be really bad. So, again, it's a blessing to be able to come in and be that shine of hope, to let these old women and old gentlemen know that somebody cares for them, somebody loves for them, somebody is here to support them. And like you said, that's kind of how my family raised me, to really be loving, to really be caring, and to do as much as you can to help those around you, especially those that are less fortunate. So I see my grandma, I see my grandpa, and all of these homeowners that we're serving, and I just serve them as if they were my grandma or my grandpa. I ensure that they know that they're loved, and I do everything in my abilities to get them as much as we can provide for them.
Mhm. That is very important because the elderly do get overlooked sometimes, basically. And I know that they appreciate the services. Plus, they also appreciate the company that we all come around as well.
Oh yeah, we have a guy on Paul. We have a guy on our team named Paul, and it's Paul's unofficial job to just talk to the homeowner and love on them. And Paul loves wildflowers. Oftentimes, we'll finish a job, and Paul will go back and plant wildflowers in their gardens and just talk to them and stay engaged with them. And we really appreciate that.
Yeah, that is really nice. I know they really appreciate that as well. Um, so since you say the people, the team you work with and so on, so if someone wants to get involved in this here and become a part of the team, what type of things they have to actually consider in the first place?
First, you have to consider your availability to work with us or to help us. Volunteer opportunities. We like to have volunteers who are committed to volunteering over an extended period of time. Again, we have our silver hammers who volunteer every Monday. So anybody who's looking to help out with some projects, especially skilled laborers, can reach out to us at Lucy at rtbr.org. She's our volunteer and intake coordinator. She'll take any notion of interest in volunteering with us and get it to the proper channels and get you the information that you need to get out on a job site with us. Most recently, we have done some capacity building with an organization called AMI Kids that provides positive engagement opportunities to underprivileged youth in the community. We brought them into our warehouse and taught them how to use power tools, tape measures, things of that nature. And then the following month, we brought them out and they worked alongside us building a wheelchair ramp. So there's a couple of different opportunities for people if they want to engage and volunteer with us. But the first step would definitely be reaching out to Lucy, Lucy, at rtbr.org.
Hmm, that's really good. I do like how you said you brought the kids in to learn the different techniques like tape measure, rebuilding. That's really good. Those are really vital skills. I know they appreciate learning that. And then it allowed them to feel more important than expected.
Oh yeah, one of the kids said, "Oh man, I could build a deck for my grandma. Well, I could fix this at Pawpaw's house." And all of us on the team were just affirming, saying, "You sure can." Paul, that same guy I was just talking about, said, "Now if
Yes.
somebody passes by and sees you working, and tries to hire you, you got to make sure that you finish working with us before you go out there and use your skills." And it was just a really good time. Like using a drill, like you said, is a life skill. A lot of people may not know how to do it, but once you do it, it opens up so many doors, so many things that you can do for yourself from a repair aspect, but then also, from a building aspect. So, not usually our wheelhouse and engaging with other nonprofits, especially nonprofits that have to do with children. But it was a really unique opportunity to step out of our comfort zone to engage the community and build some partnerships.
Yes. Rebuilding partnerships is key when working with nonprofit groups.
Oh
And there's so
yes.
many you can actually choose from, but you have to find which one works for your organization as a whole. What paths in your past led you to life-changing career?
I think applying for Teach for America was very pivotal, in my life. I was working as a field organizer for a nonprofit, directing a campaign. One was on community schools, advocating for community schools. I was in California, and then in Texas, it was a disaster relief campaign with Baker Ripley. But once I applied for Teach for America, I transferred into the role of being a special education teacher, which was a blessing, and I really enjoyed it. But the network that Teach for America offered me for professional development, as well as just networking, allowed me to really mold myself and prepare myself for what the Lord had in store for me next, which was Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge. And I really don't even remember putting in the application, but my predecessor reached out to me, told me that he liked what he saw on my resume, the things that I was doing in the community, and I just followed those footsteps in the sand, and it led me here. That professional development helped me with my organizing ability. It helped me with fundraising. It helped me with networking. So just to be able to take advantage of all opportunities and be as successful and efficient as I have been with Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge.
Well, that's really good. So actually, the Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge, they actually kind of found you along your path with stuff you were going through automatically, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, that's really good. That's a good accomplishment, especially if you was thinking about it, but you wasn't really looking for it, but it came to you. So that was
Yep.
really good as well.
And that's how I know that it was meant for me.
Hmm. That is definitely true. What motivates you to achieve any of your goals in life?
Up until about 2 years ago, it's all been about making my mama proud, you know, following in the footsteps of my grandparents, you know, all four amazing people. My dad, you know, I just wanted to continue that Lewis/Crosby legacy. But ever since I've become a father and I added that senior to the back of my name, it's all been it has all been about, you know, paying it forward for my son. So being that example for him to know the importance of helping others, the importance of community development, the importance of passing on what you learn and what you know, using your abilities to the best of your ability. So now I'm just working and striving to be an inspiration for him and my future children.
Hmm, I like that. Well, since you also mentioned your family in general, family is mostly important. Now, since you have done this nonprofit work, have this also reflected on why family is important for things like this?
Man, yes, and for so many ways and so many reasons. I think the biggest, you know, working with the impoverished elderly has been really valuing the time that I have with my grandparents and my older family members. I meet so many elderly individuals in the community who seem to be forgotten or left behind by their family members, and it just really like makes it that much more important to not do that and
Mhm,
to pour into them, you know, while I have them here. So I think that, you know, that's a powerful notion of working with these individuals, but it also, you know, makes me appreciate, you know, my family, makes me appreciate them that I'm working with in the community too a lot more. So I pour a lot more love and just really make sure that I can do as much as I can for each one of them that we serve.
mhm. I like that. That's really good because family is important and people appreciate family, but sometimes things just don't go that way. Well, we come down to the last question. So, just thinking on top of my head, really, since family is important to you and nonprofit work is important to you as well, what type of things that you want to focus on in your future that will lead you going further?
Um, Moving forward, I really just want to expand the reach and the capacity of Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge. I want to leave the organization better than when I started. Not that I'm going anywhere anytime soon. I just want to really continue to build the processes and systems, you know, so that our fundraising is immaculate and it's spot on. So that, you know, our reach is known, our impact, our footprint in the community is known, so that, you know, these elderly homeowners who are going through it don't have to wonder how or where they're going to get the resources they need to thrive or be safe. They know exactly where to go and how to go about it. And we've made the processes as easy as possible for them to apply and then in turn receive our services.
Hmm, that's really good. One other question I was thinking about is since you are the executive director for the group, if someone would like to be an executive director in another type of field, what type of things you think they should focus on if they're interested in something like this?
Man, fund development first and foremost. That is like the biggest piece of being an executive director, unless you have a fund development entity of your organization built out already. So really being able to collaborate, network with foundations and corporations and other organizations that are doing the work that you're doing so that you can be as successful as possible. I have found myself working closely with Rebuilding Together New Orleans, who is doing millions of dollars of work in the community every year, as opposed to us at Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge, who'll do a couple 100,000. So I like to look at those bigger organizations, learn their best practices, and take those leaders in as mentors to help me grow as a leader, but then also grow my organization. So again, if you're looking to become an executive director, fund development first and foremost, then the networking slash organizing piece, and then just processes and systems. Make sure your processes are as smooth as possible, as easy and transparent as possible. So not only the people receiving the services are completely up to date and aware, but also everybody on the team.
Yes, all this important information. And I know that people who are listening to this episode who is interested in a position like this, they will find this information very valuable.
Yes, sir.
Well, that was it of the interview. Do you have anything you'd like to say before ending this episode?
Yes, sir. Two things. Anybody in the greater Baton Rouge area, please log on to rtbr.org. You can find all of our information about our programs as well as opportunities to put in applications. If you're in another community in Louisiana, again, we have Rebuilding Together Acadiana as well as Rebuilding Together New Orleans. For those people around the United States, look into a Rebuilding Together affiliate local to you and really recommend their services to any impoverished elderly homeowner in your community. Rebuilding Together is a really great way to make a positive impact on them. So that was my Rebuilding Together spill. But I also like to tell you, Michael, how proud I am of you and watching your growth over these past years. Since I've left Natchitoches, since you've left Natchitoches, it's really been a blessing to see the great work that you're doing in the community in your own 9 to 5, but then also with this podcast. I told my wife about it. She's like, why are you up late doing this podcast? I said, no, baby, this is a family friend. He's doing an amazing thing. And I've got to give him the time to really help him put some air in his sails, as well as put Rebuilding Together on the map a little bit more. So again, I just want to say I'm proud. Thank you for the opportunity. If you need anything ever moving forward, I've got you.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you have to say. And it's true. We are like family. I grew up with your family, and I knew that I had to do this interview when I found out you got this position because I was really proud of you from the beginning. One other thing I want to also ask you is, do you have any contact information you'd like to share to people? They like to
Yep.
contact you?
My work email is Christopher, Kristopher at rtbr.org. And then again, if anybody wants to volunteer or put in an application with Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge, your best contact is Lucy, Lucy, at rtbr.org.
Well, thank you, Christopher Lewis. Thank you for being a guest on Consulting Between Friends podcast.
No problem. I really appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome.
After a short break, we will return. We are back. In closing, I hope the information was valuable to my listeners. The nonprofit organization Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge offers multiple benefits to the community. Christopher M. Lewis explained very well about the nonprofit organization and discussed what tasks he wants to complete as the executive director. If you or someone you know needs these services, reach out to an organization in your area. I am glad I had the opportunity to interview Christopher M. Lewis, a longtime family friend who became my extended family member. One last thing, remember to support local businesses and giving back to your community. Gratitude is a feeling that you will appreciate your entire life. Thank you for listening to Consulting Between Friends. This podcast is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, as well other platforms that are available. So like and subscribe. Need to contact us and leave us a comment? You can find us on Instagram at consulting the letter B friends. Once again, consulting B friends. An email address is consulting the letter B friends at gmail.com. Once again, consulting B friends at gmail.com. Consulting Between Friends now has a merch online store called Podcast Merch Headquarters. This is where you can buy merch to show your support for the podcast. Some items to choose from are t-shirts, tumblers, and hoodies, as well many other things I know you will appreciate. So take the time to review the items in the store. The link will be available in the podcast notes under Podcast Merch Headquarters. Consulting Between Friends appreciates the constant support. It means a lot. If you would like to support the podcast more, you can find me on Patreon at Consulting B Friends. Once again, at Consulting B Friends. The link will be in the description. Consulting Between Friends now has a way for listeners to share their feedback about the podcast. The listeners can now share their feedback on Discord. The link will be available in the podcast notes and on the podcast website. Thanks again for the support. If you have an extra minute, it would be greatly appreciated if you could answer a few questions regarding the quality of the podcast. The link will be in the description. Consulting Between Friends. Thanks to everyone for making this possible. The host, Michael Holmes Jr., the producer and content creator, Michael Holmes Jr., the artwork cover, Michael Holmes Jr., original music, a DJ named Slash, special guest, Christopher M. Lewis, Executive Director of Rebuilding Together Baton Rouge, Content Distributor, My Producer Podcasts,